These experts completely whiffed on the Big 12 rankings. How can they possibly put Baylor there?
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello there, Bears fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Baylor, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your host, Cam Stuart of ESPN Central Texas and the Cam Show on YouTube. Appreciate you guys making it your first listen today and every day. Full show for you, which, man, not used to that at this time of year. We are looking at Locked On's Big 12 rankings and how they completely dropped the ball on this one. And the NCAA is just straight up lying to Dave Aranda and the Baylor Bears and to you, the Baylor fans. Speaking of Dave Aranda and the future of this program, the Bears are on the precipice of doing something really, really amazing. They're about to beat LSU and the Texas Longhorns to a top 40 prospect in America. All that and more coming up on this episode of Locked On Baylor. We start where we start. We've gone through some new polls. Obviously, that's what this summer is, just looking at the polls, where Baylor's going to finish, what the experts are saying about them. We did a Locked On Big 12 host poll that I was like half in the bag when I voted on it. I still picked Baylor first, and they came out in fourth. But Locked On, our wonderful network that I love working for, has put out their preseason Big 12 poll. And I'm not saying I'm quitting, but let's just say there's a resignation written up in Google Docs right now. This is the conference preseason rankings. I mean, come on. Come on. I got plenty of you who listen to the podcast wherever you get your podcast. So I'll speed round through this. Texas Tech, number 1, whatever. Arizona State 2, Kansas State 3, Iowa State 4. Those listening thinking, how the heck have they not said the Baylor Bears yet? They're ranked 5th, apparently. Utah at 6, 7 TCU, 8 Houston, 9 Kansas, and then after that, BYU, Colorado, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, Arizona, West Virginia, and UCF. We're, of course, kind of taking a look at that top 5. Maybe I'm just a hater. Like, I might just be a hater. That might just be what this is. I just don't get the Texas Tech to winning the Big 12 hype. I mean, let's start with the obvious here in that Tech doesn't win the Big 12. Tech has never won the Big 12. They haven't won a conference championship outright in like 70 years. It's not something that exists. It's not something that happens, okay? It's the Santa Claus of this conference. It's just not there. Try as you might to believe that it's going to keep coming back every year. It is not real. And in a quarterback conference that is so deep, and people have told me, Cam, you're focusing too much on the quarterback. Maybe I am. But that's the most important position on the football field. It's the one probably position that can make or break the outcome of a game. It's such a good team game. Quarterback and kicker are the only ones who can kind of make or break a game by themselves. And when you have a quarterback conference that's this deep, you're going to tell me the quarterback holding up the trophy at the end of the season is Baron Morton? Really? I was like a Baron Morton defender last year. I think he's a good quarterback. He's fine. But you're picking him over Sam Levitt and Sawyer Robertson? I'm not even picking him over Rocco Becht. Which kind of leads us to number 3 on this list, and that's Kansas State. I like Kansas State. I'm going to go up and say that. I'm not crossing my fingers or anything. I like Kansas State. They bring back a lot. I thought they should have been better than they were last year, and they were still pretty solid. I think they ended up 8-4 in the regular season. So, like, that's nothing to scoff at. It's nothing to write home about for a program that has gotten near 9 or 10 wins in their best seasons. And I get it. Are they better than Baylor though? They had a better defense than Baylor. Sure, a lot of teams did in this conference. Thought Baylor improved a lot defensively in the offseason, but that's not on the football field, right? They have a better defense than Baylor. Baylor's got a much better offense and has a much better quarterback, in my opinion. As much as I like Avery Johnson, and I do, I'm just not ready to be like, yep, Avery Johnson's the guy to do it again. Kind of like the Tech syndrome. I kind of need to see it. And I'm not going to say Arizona State's being disrespected here at 2, but in every list I've ever seen this offseason of, the kind of the preseason polls for this conference, Arizona State does not come out at number 1. Like I think the Locked On Big 12 host poll is the only one I've seen that's done that. And Arizona State not only won this conference last year, they went to the college football playoff, obviously, but they bring back more starters than any other Power 4 team in the country. And all of us are kind of terrified to put them number 1 because of Cam Scadaboo, I guess. Cam Scadaboo is a hell of a player, man. But one man not maketh a Big 12 champion. And Iowa State, I've got plenty of questions about that offense, man. I got plenty of questions about losing your top 2 receivers to the same NFL team. I like Rocco Becht as well. I don't put him on the pedestal of Sawyer Robertson, Sam Leavitt, even Josh Hoover. I just don't think he can carry a team like that. I think he is a good, dependable quarterback who is absolutely in the top half of this conference, if not the top 5 in this conference. But I just don't know if he can survive losing that much offensive talent for Iowa State to get there. We got to remember that Iowa State won 10 games for the first time ever last year. And you take some of that firepower away. That's a lot to ask of them. So why is Baylor at 5? People are not buying into Baylor's defense. And I get that. Baylor was not a great defensive team last year. There needs to be a ton of improvements. You know who else really sucked defensively? The Texas Tech Red Raiders. By some metrics, they were the worst defense in the Big 12. So if we're going to knock Baylor down a peg because they don't have an elite defense, how on earth can we put Texas Tech number 1? I'm sorry. How can we do that? I know they got big, shiny new toys. They just got a bunch of guys out of the portal. They had a great portal class. But what have we seen in this conference but continuity? Arizona State brought a ton of key guys back before last year. And that's how they went from a team that was projected to be 3-9 to a team that won the Big 12. And when we look at the rest of the teams up near the top here, Arizona State, Kansas State, Iowa State, Baylor, what are we looking at for them for the most part? Obviously, they bring a ton of talent back, but they bring a lot of starters back. Shoot, man, why is Utah number 6? If this is a quarterback conference, Utah does not hold a candle to these other quarterbacks. If you're comparing Devin Dampier to Josh Hoover, the team that's ranked right behind them, it's no contest. And Utah was 5-7 last year. But why is Utah on that list? Because they bring a ton of guys back. Texas Tech is on the top of the list because they have a bunch of new guys. I don't think Tech's going to be 5-7. I don't think Tech's going to be 6-6. I think they're going to be better than that. Why are we anointing them the Big 12 champs? That's just what I'm not getting. I'm not understanding it at all. I know it's probably too much to say I need to see the team do it first, because if that were the case, then we'd only be picking Arizona State. I don't need to see Texas Tech win the Big 12 necessarily. I do need to see them win more than 8 games. A coach that can win more than 8 games. Baylor has it. Kansas State has it. Utah has it. Arizona State has it. Texas Tech does not have that. I need to see something. I need to see a year where they're at expectations, maybe not even exceeding them. This is a bad list, man. Spencer McLaughlin looked on college football. I mean, come on with this. Flood his comment section. I mean, really. Baylor, 5th. We're keeping this receipt, folks. We are keeping this receipt. We will be chatting with Spencer McLaughlin on a game week in the first week in December. How about that? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. How bad is this list? Or is Baylor in a perfectly fine spot at number 5? Let me know in the comments section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, find us wherever you find your podcasts as well. Locked On Baylor rolls on, okay? We got to talk about not just the lies that Spencer McLaughlin is spitting at us, but the lies that the NCAA is spewing at Dave Aranda. Let's talk about it next on Locked On Baylor. But first, today's episode of Locked On Baylor is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or the high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling, huh? FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. All right. I love it. It's a great way for me to make money. Whether I'm placing a same game parlay or watching a bet ride into the 9th inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I'm there and I'm part of the action. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if that first bet wins. Let me say that again so you know I'm being serious. New customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Running it back here, Locked On Baylor. I said going into Big 12 Media Days, the person I wanted to hear from most was Dave Aranda, because mainly the question I wanted to hear the most was, what is the deal with this Ashton Hawkins situation? It's been nearly 2 months since he was deemed ineligible completely out of nowhere, still without really an explanation. And leave it to the journalists, baby. Pete Thamel gets up there. I'm sure our Waco journalists were ready to ask. I actually do have it on good account that they were going to ask. Pete Thamel asked Dave Aranda, what's the deal here? What's going on with this Ashton Hawkins thing? And Dave says, don't know. NCAA said they would have a decision by July 4th. Here we are. This episode's premiering on late July 9th. You're probably listening on July 10th. Nothing. The NCAA is lying to Baylor. They're lying to Dave Aranda. They're lying to Mack Rhodes. And now, because that's out in the public, they're lying to all of us. I just don't understand how this makes sense. The NCAA is too busy losing in court to actually get their ducks in a row here, to actually get their crap together. Again, the timeline that Ashton Hawkins has in his college football career almost matches up with Diego Pavia, gets the waiver just fine, and it exactly matches up with Jet Elad, the Rutgers defensive back, who got it turned around in a hurry. He was deemed ineligible a couple weeks later. He fought it in court. Bam, we're done. He's eligible. Ashton Hawkins is not. How far does this go? In 3.5 weeks, we have fall camp. They're going to practice to start the season. What is Ashton Hawkins supposed to be doing? What's he supposed to be doing now? Of course it's getting ready for the season, but why are you just leaving a kid in limbo, a 23-year-old in just limbo right now? Doesn't know whether he can continue on his education, doesn't know if he can continue on his college football career or his football career in general. The options pretty much dry up after January for what that next step's going to be for football until the next year when those opportunities come back around. The NCAA, they didn't care about that. Screw the student athlete. That's what the NCAA is anyway. And now it's a glorified babysitting organization, and they still can't get it right. They still can't get it right. The NCAA in the last 2-3 years has gone from a CEO, prison warden, down to a babysitter, and the kids are still sticking forks in the electric outlets. They still can't get it right. It's unbelievable. They're tournament organizers and eligibility parole officers, and they still can't get it right, and they can't get anything done in a timely fashion. It's nuts, man. It's nuts. And there are other media days, topics that we're going to talk about in the next couple of days and weeks here. But this one just floored me. I'm glad Dave Aranda was honest about it, because too often, I know, sometimes it gets inflammatory, but too often coaches and athletic directors they play it too nice with the NCAA. And Dave Aranda wasn't playing it nice in a very Dave Aranda way. He's not cussing them out. He's not pounding the table like I suggested he do. He just said, yeah, we were supposed to hear by now. In fact, we were supposed to hear by the July 4th holiday. And without saying anything else, he's basically telling you, you guys know it's past the July 4th holiday. Do the math here. But you are the NCAA. You are putting a program with a lot of hype this year in a tough situation. Ashton Hawkins is just one player out of over 100 on this team. He's just one of 22 starters. But you're putting handcuffs on a coach, on an offensive coordinator, on a quarterback, and everyone on that team of like, are we going to have one of our biggest impact players? And they have no answers. You know what I mean? I'm sure these players are trying to get with, Coach Aranda, Jake Spavital, and being like, hey, any word on this? Nope. Beats the heck out of me. It's just classic NCAA, man. And I mean that in a derogatory way. It is classic NCAA. Charlie Baker, man. As a Massachusetts resident, I could have warned you guys about Charlie Baker, but it's so wild. They did give him a timeline. That's more than the NCAA usually does. They gave him a timeline, and they just don't care about it. They just don't care. But again, I come back to the point of, when do they start to care? Would they just let this ride into August, mid-August, late August? Is Ashton Hawkins going to miss games because they just can't get their crap together? Because the people that are supposed to be doing this, the eligibility parole officers, are too busy in Tahiti or losing in court, that Baylor's going to lose one of their impact players because of it? Bears have two pretty big games to start off the schedule. If you don't have Ashton Hawkins for Auburn or SMU, not because he's fully ineligible, but because you can't decide whether he's eligible or not, that would be real bad. That would be a real bad look for an organization that is just one giant bad look. So there's your Ashton Hawkins update. I was begging for it. I know there are some viewers who wanted to hear about it too. There it is. July 4th. Boy, I can't wait for that. I mean, we're only 360 days away from July 4th. Maybe that's what they were talking about. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. How much longer can this go on? This is ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. It's been 2 months. Jet Eli had it figured out in 3 weeks, and here we are still waiting. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, follow us wherever you follow and get your podcasts as well. Coming up, oh man, this has the opportunity to be a humongous recruiting week, as in one of the best recruiting weeks in Baylor football history. They are now on the fast track to take one of Texas's prized recruits away. Let's tell you who that is and how important this would be. Coming up next on Locked On Baylor. The name, Jamarion Carlton. The people that Baylor are about to piss off, the Texas Longhorns. All-American defensive lineman, Temple, Texas, right in both of our backyards, now has a crystal ball to Baylor. He's supposed to commit the 11th, July the 11th. That's Thursday. Maybe even today, if you're watching and listening to it on Thursday. And this is one of the most sought-after recruits in the entire country, either side of the ball. Okay, top 5 recruit in all of Texas, top 5 defensive lineman in the entire country. 4-star, looked like it was going to be UT for a long time. UT, LSU, Tech, defending Big 12 champions, Arizona State. I should mention Tech, the school that just gets everybody they want, apparently. maybe not so fast, because 247 Sports is crystal balling him to the Baylor Bears. And this would be one of the great recruiting victories of recent memory for the Baylor Bears. And by the way, if you've been paying attention, they've had quite a few of those in the last year or two. They've had some really big recruiting victories. I want to read the Gabe Brooks write-up because I love Gabe Brooks's write-ups, and the dude is just on top of everyone playing in this state. Physically and athletically gifted frontline defender who could play from the edge or bulk to a true defensive lineman thanks to immense frame space. This is Cam Stuart reading between the lines. Jack, baby. You might be Jamarion, but you're going to be Jack on the roster. Dave Aranda loves the Jack position, almost like the edge rushing linebackers in a 3-4. You know, those guys who are big, but not big enough to be on the interior, but are still quick enough to get to the quarterback. Terrell Bernard played a little bit of that. Love that position. He was obviously the best at it. And Baylor has had a need for that the last couple of years. Garmin Randolph, he's Garmin. He's not Jack. Okay. Jamarion Carlton, that dude's Jack. All right. That has Jack written all over him. Back to the Gabe Brooks write-up. Measured exceptionally well during the 2025 Navy All-American Bowl Week, assembling an encouraging performance against elite competition to reacquire the stock up label, north of 6'4" and around 240 pounds with excellent length. Bam. Bam. Projects as a possible high major impact player with bona fide NFL traits. Sounds pretty good to me. Sounds pretty darn good to me. Playing 6A football as a junior in 2024, produced 57 tackles, 11 TFL, 5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. This might be enough to get Steven Simcox on the show. Now you're saying, Cam, I know Steven Simcox. He's the host of Locked On Horned Frogs. Why would he come on here and talk about Jamarion Carlton? Because he's also the color commentator for the Temple Wildcats. So he saw him play all those games last year. Even as a sophomore, he was electric in 6A football. 4 TFL, 3 sacks, a pick, 7 quarterback hurries in 8 games. I mean, the guy is all over the place. And he is the exact kind of game wrecker that Baylor hasn't had for years. For years. The closest I can think of is 2022. Siaki Ika was a game wrecker from a very different position, right at nose tackle. And he really could only affect he could only take over the game in the run game defensively. Jamarion Carlton, as a Jack guy, can do it definitely against the run, but more so against the pass. And Baylor just hasn't had that really since Petrie and Bernard. You know, they've had some good performances in there. Matt Jones had his moments for sure, but we're talking about a true game wrecker, 4 or 5 star kind of recruit, to the point where Steve Sarkisian is fuming right now. Cue it. I'm sure people have already started typing it in. Texas fans, we didn't want him. Only a 4-star. Temple, we didn't want him. Trust us. If the Longhorns wanted him, he'd be a Longhorn. I'm sure there's plenty of that going around the message boards and the comment sections all over the place. But Jamarion Carlton is another in what is a small line right now, but will become a large line of guys who are bucking the trend and saying Texas doesn't just flaunt their burnt orange jerseys and get our guys. There are people that do want to come to Baylor. Even if Jamarion Carlton doesn't commit by some shocking, revelation that does happen. We saw it with Taz Williams last year. Everyone thought he was going to Michigan. He ended up committing to Baylor. There are still other guys. There are the Taz Williams of the world. There's the Cameron Morgans of the world. There's the Demetrius Brisbanes of the world, who everyone had going somewhere bigger. And once these SEC schools get a hold of them, good luck, Baylor. And then they said, actually, I'm going to go to Baylor. Jamarion Carlton, man, keep that name in mind. This could be one of the great days in Baylor football recruiting history. Let me know what you think about in the comments section below. How nice would it be not just to get him, but to get him over Texas. Please let me know in the comment section below. There's nothing on God's green earth like beating the Texas Longhorns, man, in anything. Anything. Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, get those mailbag questions down in the comment section below as well. Thank you so much for making it your first listen today and every day. We will see you later on your favorite show, Locked On Baylor.